Filipino night on your behalf.
Thank you.
It was nice to see the 40th annual event, and as usual, it was a great success. And I just wanted to congratulate the members of the Filipino Association on keeping up with the good work that they do in town.
Thank you very much. They're a valued part of the community. Not only their events, but the annual event and the various other times they're out in the community, and certainly people enjoy them at CFest.
And the shish kebabs.
Yes, at CFest. Yes. Thank you for going there on my behalf. Councillor Thorkelson.
Well, I was actually trying to compile a do list of many of the things that I think that have been important that we have sort of looked at in the last year, and one of them was to have some kind of a strategic outlook or strategic planning session, and because I think that with our new city manager, we need to have a look at, especially one who successfully helped us get move Watson Island forward and maybe offer agenda this summer, but now to look at some of the other things that we want to look at, and part of that reason for me trying to compile a list of the things that I had thought were important anyway, that I'm sure other people have other things that they thought were important, and trying to look at developing the future of the city. And one of the reasons is, Your Worship, is because of this whole discussion brought up really about this whole discussion regarding what are we going to do with the property up at the Transition House area. And one of the things that I've brought up from time to time, and there's a couple of motions done on it, and it's sort of fallen off the wayside, and I haven't really felt too badly about it because we have been busy doing other things. But as part of the strategic planning process, one of the things that I think are important, is that we maybe have a look at what the city, at where we own property around the city, and to have a look at, although the city's OCP has a broad overview, it also says, we should try to develop this parcel of vacant land first. This is less desirable, and this is even less desirable. But they're looking at large parcels of land, not at smaller parcels of land. And maybe really what we should be doing is looking at a few of the smaller parcels of land and seeing what kind of, if we want to start directing development. I'm not really all in favor of just letting developers make decisions on development. I like the idea of promoting condos, and it may be that the park up at the Westview area is not the place to do it. That we may decide that, but we may decide that there's some other areas in town where it would be important for us to do it. And so I just think that we should be that we should be talking about those kinds of things now that there's going to be an interest in development. One of the other things we look for in regards to land was the idea of BC Housing, or somebody coming to us and talking to us about rental units, and what we are looking at for rental units in our community, how many we have, how many we may need for the future, and what does that look? We made strata. This council and the council prior to this one made a bunch of changes, and we made a bunch of rental buildings into strata buildings, and the rental population, the rental units in town, the numbers have been decreased because BC Housing has torn some down. Just talking about some more housing, rental units being torn down today. The people that I represent in my day job are having a harder and harder time now finding decent rental units, and I don't want to go back to the years where people were living in mushroom infested basements. That's not how we should be expecting our people to live in this community. So anyway, I'm hoping that we will get to sit down and have a discussion about a strategic plan. That would certainly be some of the things that I'd be wanting to look at. The other thing, of course, is what we talked about when we were having such a difficult time with our budget, is talked about this fall having some discussions about how to make choices instead of having to do it at the last minute, especially since we lost Anson, right? What are we going to do now? So I was thinking that we should, maybe have a look at trying to do that this fall too, because it's a busy fall, right? It's already October tomorrow. And, in December, nobody's going to want to do anything. It's all Christmassy. And we got the new election coming up in the middle of November. And obviously we got this counter petition up, and we want to have some discussion about it. So, we've got a lot of things on the go. So all I was thinking, Your Worship, is that, we need to sort of try to maybe tie down some ideas and some dates for some of these discussions. We don't have to, obviously we don't need to do all of these things during council time, but, I don't want to leave it also to, January 1st and wish we had done all of this in the fall. So that was my 2 cents worth for this meeting.
Thank you. Councillor Ashley.
Just a quick further thought to that. I'm thinking that if staff is starting to think about dates, it might be prudent to kind of look at, say, the collaboration session on what we're doing until just after the by-election, because then the entire council would be there in terms of that kind of planning. So whoever gets elected.
Certainly. Further comments? If not, I'll do the mayor's report. Attended a meeting with the Board of Directors of WorkSafe BC to obtain an overview of their organization and the programs that they sponsor for employers and employees in British Columbia. I attended with members of City Council the Union of BC Municipalities Conference. City Council had meetings with the Premier of British Columbia, the Minister of Environment, the Minister of Jobs, Tourism and Skills Training, the Minister of Transportation and Infrastructure, the Minister of Agriculture, Fish and Food, and the Minister of Natural Gas Development. The topics discussed were community infrastructure needs, the Prince Rupert Airport, and the Tsimshian Access Project, having a stronger voice with regards to the West Coast salmon fisheries, and assistance for planning for future export developments being considered. Members of City Council also attended various other meetings. I attended meetings concerning the Northwest Regional Hospital District, the Coastal Community Network, the BC Mayor's Caucus, and BC Ferries Northern Routes. I also met with representatives from the natural gas, the forestry, and the transportation industries. Along with the Royal Canadian Mounted Police Inspector and 2 members from the Prince Rupert Detachment, we greeted the passengers and crew of the cruise ship Celebrity Century and welcomed them to the city. I attended a risk identification workshop regarding the proposed routing of marine vessels transiting local waters to and from the proposed LNG facilities at Lilu Island and Ridley Islands. I attended an open house held by the British Columbia Oil and Gas Commission in Prince Rupert to give residents an overview of the role of the Commission, the role they have as a regulator of the industry within our province. Mr. Long, the cruise ship season has now ended. I understand the city will get visited next year by 10 cruise ships. And in preparation for that, I'd like you to schedule a meeting with the chairman of the Prince Rupert Port Authority so that representatives from the city, Tourism Prince Rupert, and the Prince Rupert and District Chamber of Commerce can meet to discuss the past season and see what opportunities there are working with the port to enhance next year's cruise ship visits, particularly the larger cruise ships. You do that, please. Next year is the 100th anniversary of the railway being completed to Prince Rupert. All these years it has supported various activities and various industries. In the early days, a lot of halibut was delivered here. In fact, Prince Rupert was noted as the halibut capital of the world. The fish was then iced and sent by rail car to markets on the eastern seaboard. The railway also supported other trade and commerce, as well as the Second World War activities. Many passenger trains traveled to Prince Rupert. Today, the railway has an ever-increasing role in the community, supporting the export and import terminals carrying goods and products. So I'll ask City Council, would the City Council like to facilitate some sort of community acknowledgement of the railway? And if the Council would like to give that some consideration, we can discuss it at a later date. I participated in a Northern Economic Collaborative Forum held in Terrace and hosted by the Regional Economic Operations Branch, Ministry of Jobs, Tourism and Skills Training of British Columbia. Representatives from Terrace, Kitimat, Greenville, New Ianch, Kincolith, and Canyon City attended, along with representatives from Kitimat Village, and a variety of community topics were discussed and then prioritized for the provincial government ministry to consider. Such things as community infrastructure, trades training locally, increased health care, and these were some of the topics. That concludes the Mayor's report. If there's nothing further, I'll ask the Council for a motion to adjourn. Moved by Councillor Ashley, seconded by Councillor Carlick-Pearson, that this Council meeting stand adjourned. Questions been called? Those in favor? Thank you. This meeting is adjourned.